Welcome back to Journey to Novelist. This channel is devoted to new writers and those writers new to pursuing the goal of becoming a published author. Now that's a journey I've been on, and this year I am doing both of the Camp NaNoWriMo events for the year 2022. I did compete in the April event and did not do as well as I hoped. I even expanded my timeline not only to include April, but to include May, and I still only got to 30,000 words of a story that I actually had about 13,000 words when I started. So I'm hoping to do better in my July Camp NaNoWriMo. Now today is July 3rd, so we are a little bit into the month and a little bit into the camp, and I am working on a story called Stalking the Cat. Now, Stalking the Cat is a story I started in July 2013 as part of that July camp. It is a story with a female cat shifter who is a model, and she is highly affected by a murder that occurs, and so the story has a plot line that follows her as she tries to deal with the fallout from the crime that happened, that murder. And also it has the detectives as they investigate the crime. And there are multiple crimes that happen, so it's kind of a combination of a detective story and a hero's journey type of quest type story. And I think reading through some different literature on story types and genres, that this might fall into the romantic suspense category, but I won't know for sure until I actually get it completely written to see where I think it falls best. Now, this particular cover is the cover I used in July of 2013. It was a very simplistic cover. I just wanted something to keep myself focused on the story, and that's what I use these mock-up covers for, is I can display them somewhere, and every time I open my writing software I see this and it's like, that's the project I'm supposed to be working on. Now, last month I wanted to take a little bit of a break from writing, and I knew I was going to be working on this particular story because I previously selected it using a random number generator. So I decided to go ahead and update this cover to something new, and that is what is going to be shown as my backdrop for these July updates as we work on Camp NaNoWriMo in July. Now, you can see the difference between the two covers. The new one is much more oriented on the crimes and less so on the model, and it does sort of hint at the fact that it is a paranormal story as well, because my character has a shadow that is a cat. Hopefully that kind of gives more of an idea of what the story is about when you look at the cover. If you want to, you can comment about what you think about the covers compared to the old one, and if you think I went in the right direction. Now, these are just my attempts at these covers. I am not a professional cover designer. Any comments you want to make could be helpful in my design of any other covers that I do. I would like to eventually put this book, if I finish it, onto Kindle for the Kindle Unlimited readers to read. I would like to have a cover to put there, so this might be the cover that goes there. So go ahead and comment if you would like to do that. So I will be keeping this up as my focus picture for the July camp updates. Now, when we started the July, I went ahead and had some software randomly selected from those that I review during the Software Under $30 playlist that is part of this channel. And the software that was picked was one called Storyweaver. I have about 20,000 words of this story, Stalking the Cat, already written, and I read through all that, and I'm thinking that that writing is pretty good. It does have some good beats in there. It does give some information. I think all of that will probably end up staying. So when I looked at that and I looked at what Storyweaver does and how it provides for a writer, I don't think the two mesh very well. So I am going to eliminate Storyweaver as the software I was going to use and use something else. Now, I did pick up a backup software of this Quoll Writer, and that is the software I'm going to use to try to actually do the writing of the story. And I have Quoll Writer open here, and I set up 12 chapters using a method called a mystery in 12 chapters. And so for each of these chapters, if I open the information, it gives you the goals of what should occur in those chapters. And I thought that was going to be enough because I was thinking this was more of a mystery story when I did this. However, after reading back through what I had, I decided that there was those two completely different plot lines running through the story. And this 12 chapter method really is not going to work very well for the story. So I'm going to go back and eliminate these goals from this Stalking the Cat layout in my Quoll Writer. I did go through and pull out all the names of the characters that occur in that 20,000 words, and they're listed here. And this could be very helpful part of Quoll Writer because if I open one of these characters, it tells me which chapters they appear in. You can see here that Azalea ends up in chapter 1, which I only have one chapter that actually has words on it right here. So when I look at my character Azalea, it says chapter 1, and it shows me the different lines where she is mentioned. So if I actually click on one of these, it will take me right to that line in chapter 1. So that could be handy when I'm actually doing the writing of the words for the story. But that's not my problem right now. Right now, I really need to lay out the different beats of the different storylines that will drive the writing as I'm doing it. Now, I'm usually somewhat of a pantser when I write, and that's the method I took whenever I was doing the April event. And like I said, I failed that. I only got to 30,000 words. So I thought I would take a different approach for July and try to plot out my beats before I get into the actual writing. Quoll Writer does not seem to have a very good way to do a timeline of beats for a story. So I'm going to jump out of Quoll Writer and be using this software called Plottr. Now, Plottr is a paid software. It costs $25 for a year of updates, but once you buy it, you can use it forever. If you don't want to update it, you can just download it and use it as it is forever, or at least until computers advance so much that the software no longer runs on them. But if you want to, you can go ahead and have somewhat of a subscription that gives you the updates as you use the software. And I bought this software a long time ago whenever they were first starting out, and so I have an actual founder's edition of it that I am using, and I did recently update it, and I have that open here with my plot lines in there. Now this lays it out in various different methods depending on the structure that you choose. So whenever you go to create a new project, and I'll say create from template here, it has a place where you have a bunch of different project templates to choose from. You have everything from a 12-step mystery formula to something for horror. You have your Freytag's pyramid, which if you do read any sort of a writing book or read writing blogs, you're going to see Freytag's pyramid in there. You'll see Hero's Journey mentioned in a lot of different writing books and a lot of different videos or instruction that you do. Hero's Journey is a very common plot format. But the point of this whole software is that it gives you a structure to building out your plot. That is its purpose, helping you to build your plot using different beats and scenes. So I'm not actually going to create a new project. I've already done that for my story using two different plot lines. I have the cozy mystery one that is listed there because I thought the cozy mysteries beats more closely fit what I was planning for my detectives to go through, because it's not a hard and fast type of a crime novel or a police procedure, or it's not even a hard and fast mystery type story, but it does have those elements, so the cozy one worked better. And you can see they've broken that particular template up into 4 acts Act 1, which is the ordinary world, the reactive phase, the proactive phase, and then the confrontation phase. And it's laid out the beats here into 20 beats for that particular plot line. And that will be to follow the detectives as they go through the particular crimes that occur. And then I went ahead and added another plot line down here for my female protagonist, Azalea, and her particular beats that will follow along with the detectives. So whenever you come into one of these beats, it gives you some information about what should be occurring in this particular beat. Right here it says I should identify what about the hero's ordinary world makes them happy or displeased. So up here I went ahead and made some notes about what I'm going to include in this particular scene of the story, where I'm going to just say how Azalea is a model and she likes wearing the designer clothes and the nice apartment, and that she's excited about her upcoming wedding, and just what her normal world is. And the fact that she is looking forward to the future is very important at this particular point in the story. And that's what these particular points of the beat are telling me to do. So I can take that and give some information about what I need to cover in that beat. So if I look at a beat that I have not gotten to yet, farther down here, perhaps here where there's a narrow escape, then it says here I want to consider how the character is being held or tortured and how they will escape their predicament. Now this might not be taken literally. It may be how she's caught in some sort of situation that she needs to get out of. So I could add details about how she can get out of that particular situation in here. But I will build up to that using these beats of her story. Now hers will run right along parallel with the main investigation here as I come up here to meeting the protagonist. And it's here that I say that we're going to meet Maxon, who is the police guy that is going to be doing the main investigation, and the one that she eventually has a crush on and falls in love with during the course of the story, and that's going to cause a whole bunch of other problems. So I want to give some information about him, and that's what it tells me to do here, to give my protagonist an external goal, and that will be to solve the murders, and an internal goal, and in his case that has to do with getting over this bad breakup with an ex of his and dealing with that. So he has those two goals as he goes through trying to solve the murders. So I will be using this Plottr software and going through these beats and trying to give more detail to the actual plot I am following, and hopefully that will help me with the writing. So I will probably take the first week here and around the 8th of the month, so another 5 days or so. I will hopefully have all of these filled out and I will be actually writing. So I will update you at least once during that time to see how I'm doing with doing the plotting. Now the Plottr does have a place here where you can put characters that you are using, so that whenever you are doing your particular timeline notes, you can actually say which characters fall into this particular beat. Here I have Azalea listed, and where it's taking place is her apartment, and you can actually give colors to different scenes so that you can use that to keep track of different things that's going on. So there's a lot of things here. There's an outline view where you can see your beats laid out here. And if I want to see beat 1, here's the two different sections of beat 1, both the cops beat, and here is the other female protagonist Azalea's beat down here. So you can go through this method for filling them out if you don't want to use the actual timeline. With these timelines, you can always add additional beats in here by hitting these plus, or you can add an entirely new set of beats here by just clicking add and giving it a new plot line. Perhaps this had to do with the villain's plot line if I wanted to have beats to follow what the villain was doing. I could do that. Here's where you can put places, are all listed here, and you can give information about those particular sets so that you can keep track of that kind of information while you're doing your plotting. So that is the basics of Plottr, and hopefully it will help me to outline my story. Now, another thing about this software is that under the projects, you can actually make your book part of a series, and that way you can put your different books here and still share the same characters and places. So that could be really helpful as you go through trying to plot series books. So I will be using Plottr to try to flesh out my plot prior to writing things in Quoll Writer. If you have any comments about anything I've mentioned here, then feel free to comment. I will add a link in the description to the Plottr website where you could get that software if you want, as well as Quoll Writer if you're interested in that. Quoll Writer is a free software. So I hope that your July journey goes well and that you will join me back here to get updates as I move through my July Camp NaNoWriMo. And like I said, please feel free to comment on my mock cover or anything else you've seen here in this video. And good luck.